packed house, ready to go. Huge day in sports. Feinbaum will be here shortly. RJ's got the basketball covered. And Swagoo, we're just sort of trying to keep him in check here. It's LSU, Alabama this week. He's so fired up, I can't take it. You all right? You ready to go?
Save the table.
The energy level is
high.
Meanwhile, Cowboys, Giants last night, MetLife Stadium. Dak Prescott and the boys would get the ball first. And Dan Orlovsky, this is not the way you draw it up. This is the Cowboys' very first play from scrimmage.
Yeah, Greeny, it's the right read and it's the right throw. It's just a better play by Antoine Bethea standing in between Dak and that slant throw. Fast start for the Giants D.
But it was a theme. The Giants would only convert it into a field goal. So second quarter, we're tied at 3. Giants on a 3rd and 14. How about this catch from Golden Tate?
It's actually an outstanding throw by Daniel Jones right on that back shoulder. But look at Golden's leap and then somehow levitation and the one-handed snag for a sick catch on the sideline.
And this time they would cash it in for 6. 3 plays later on 3rd and goal from the 1. It's Jones to Cody Latimer.
Really like the design. Down on the goal line, man-to-man coverage. Latimer dips in, out, wide open touchdown.
They missed the extra point, so it's 9-3 Giants. And then came the cat. And I'm not kidding when I say everything changed from the moment this black cat ran out onto the field. Bad luck struck the home team at MetLife Stadium. Just over a minute to go in the half. Cowboys down 12-3, not anymore.
Well, there's 10 guys on defense playing zone and 1 guy on defense playing man. Janoris Jenkins is not even on the screen. And then he doesn't even try and tackle Blake Jarwin. Good play by Dak and Jarwin on a broken play for their offense.
That's not a good attempt to make a tackle?
42-yard touchdown. It's 12-10. Now under 40 seconds to go in the half. Giants going to try and get points. Instead, Daniel Jones is picked. It's coming back to the 39-yard line, setting up the Cowboys with good field position. They'd kick a field goal, so they'd have a 13-12 halftime lead. We go to the fourth quarter. It's a 1-point game. 16-15 Dallas on a 3rd and 3. Dak can still do this.
Yeah, fourth quarter, Dak does this really well. No one's open. Trusts his leg, finds a seam, and picks up a really crucial first down.
Crucial because on the very next play, Michael Gallup makes one of the prettiest plays of the year.
Just watch this on the sideline. The athleticism, the leap, one leg, and the fall into the end zone. I can't do this. I don't know a lot of people in the world that can.
Richard Jefferson thinks he can, but that's neither here nor there. Cowboys up 8 after a Giants field goal. Cowboys 8 minutes to go, 3rd and 12, and finally there's Amari Cooper.
Who would have known? A play caller calling a play for his best receiver when they need it the most. An absolute missile from Dak to Amari.
It's a 45-yard touchdown. Now 23 seconds left. Jones has the ball knocked away. Jordan Lewis is going to scoop and score from 63 yards. So the Cowboys scored 21 points in the fourth quarter. Don't let the final score fool you. 37-18. The Cowboys are winner, but this one was a lot closer than the score would indicate. Let's talk after it's done.
If a black cat runs on the damn field on a Monday Night Football game, a black cat, like, you might want to call it quits, bro. Like, y'all luck is terrible.
Things weren't good up to that point, so I mean, it could only get better from there. So I thought about that. I definitely thought about that. I guess we'll start rolling now that the black cats come in bad for the Giants. So who knows? Fun. First time I guess I've seen an animal run on the field that I've been a part of.
All right, so look, things did genuinely turn around. I don't know what more to say. I like the full screen we did there. But Dak Prescott doubled his QBR from the first quarter and a half to the post-cat performance last night. And he outscored the Giants by 25. He completed 71% of his passes for the rest of the game. So I don't know how much analysis we need of the significance of the cat running onto the field. But let us ask our resident Cowboy here, Marcus Spears. And on a night where, again, if all you're seeing is the final score, it's not indicative of the way the game really went last night. What did you make of the Cowboys' performance?
Well, sloppy. That's number one. I think that's one word you can attach to it. But also, it lended itself to their identity as well, because they got Zeke Elliott going. And when they get Zeke Elliott going, it's a better football team. Everything opens up. And I know it's cliche to say it, and everybody's been talking about it for such a long time. But Ezekiel Elliott, when he's rolling and this offensive line is having their way, because we talk about how bad the Giants defense is, we talked about it all season long, they dominated from a physicality standpoint. And that's who the Cowboys is, and that's who they're going to have to be to have success.
What were you thinking watching the game?
Well, I think, you see the things that the Cowboys want to do well, and you look at the addition of Michael Bennett, who's a trade deadline acquisition during their bye week. you now have a team that can get pressure with his front four. And when you talk to people there, one of the concerns over the past few weeks is where's the pass rush been? It hasn't been consistent. DeMarcus Lawrence, obviously a monster. He was much more the bad luck for the Giants than the Cat was last night because he dominated. But the addition of Bennett as an interior pass rusher on those passing downs was the reason they went and got him. Obviously, the price was good, but they really felt like that was a bit of an underrated pickup for them that's going to pay dividends down the stretch.
All this is just another win against a bad football team.
It is.
And it was done in an unconvincing fashion. I mean, you mentioned the run game. The run game kept them in until Dak made a throw in the fourth quarter when they needed it. But if the Giants are better in the red zone on offense, this is a 21-3 football game. Luckily, their run game was so good that the Giants were only getting field goals, and Zeke was able to keep this offense at least moving a little bit to get their own field goals. And then, like I had mentioned, Dak makes a throw on third down when they need it, and credit him for that. But that's an unconvincing win against a bad football team.
Hey, man, take all that bass out your voice when you talk about the Cowboys like that.
I got
a lot of bass
Fired up.
in your voice.
tell the truth up here about it.
I'm telling you right now, Swagoo is
when Wentz.
It's
What'd you
Bama.
say?
When Wentz do it, I want the same energy, okay?
Well, so the point he's trying to make here, in intimidating fashion, is that for you and for much of the NFL, every week is a referendum on just how good Dak Prescott is.
Yeah.
How good was he last night?
He was good when they needed him to be. Until then, he was average, which until the Black Cat came, he was playing bad football. But I will credit him. In the fourth quarter, on third down, when they need a run, he makes it. This is the touchdown pass to on the sideline.
To Gallup.
Michael Gallup, the great play by Gallup. And then this ball to Amari. Listen, it's the throw when it's needed, but there's a lot of that's a pretty elementary football pass right there. I mean, that is.
He was open, right?
Then Dan, how does that lend itself to what's facing the Cowboys? Because they are facing a gauntlet. Take a quick look at their schedule right now, and in terms of the NFC East pecking order, because I believe you had the Eagles over there. Here's their upcoming schedule: Vikings, Lions, Patriots, and even the Bills in terms of their defense. Where do you have them at? And
this is why it matters: Vikings, Patriots, Bills, and Bears all have top 10 defenses.
Sure.
The Dallas Cowboys have not beaten anybody with a top 20 defense. They got 5 wins this year, right? 4 of those wins are two against the Giants, 1 against the Redskins, 1 against the Dolphins. They beat the Eagles. The Eagles have the 20th ranked defense in the NFL. So we're going to find out. I mean, we think they're a good to really good football team. We will find out and read really more about this offense in the next month with those defenses.
Do you believe, Swagoo, as we can joke around all we want, do you believe that when we list the best teams in the NFC, we should be getting to Dallas quickly?
Yeah, you can get to that formula. If they can stay with this formula with Zeke, they are that team. Like think about what we just saw with Baltimore and New England, right? Think about how we raved about New England's defense. And we talked about how good they were and they can stop people and they can win on defense. When you can run the football, you can win games in this league. That's the balling point. We look at the Chargers in Green Bay. We talk about what the Chargers with Austin Eckler and Melvin Gordon ran all over Green Bay. Dallas has that formula, and they kind of was one of the forefront at doing that.
We'll talk more about the Cowboys as we go. How about the team they beat last night? It was another rough outing for the rookie quarterback Daniel Jones, struggling to protect the ball, fumbled the ball twice, threw a pick. Finishes 26 of 41, 210 yards, a touchdown, and 3 turnovers. He's now tied with Jameis Winston for the league lead with 16 turnovers, and Pat Shurmur clearly has some concerns.
Don't fumble it. Yeah, just hold it tighter, right? I mean, the decision to scramble to get the first down was the right thing. And then, you gotta make good decisions, and you got to play well throughout the down, and at the end of the down, you got to secure the ball. That's pretty simple.
All right, so moving past the ridiculously condescending manner with which he chooses to say things, is what he's saying making sense? I understand what I think he's trying to say. You can't fumble the football at the end of a good play. We get that. That's anyone who's ever seen a football game understands that. What should we be saying of Daniel Jones?
I'm not totally concerned about Daniel Jones and the fumbles. A lot of people will make a big deal about it. I was around Matthew Stafford when he was younger, when he had some fumble issues, and he paid attention to it and rectified it. The interception is a weird one to me because for such a smart player, Daniel Jones is a smart player. That was not a smart play. He's trying to move a safety. He never goes there. The fumbles are going to be something that he's going to have to pay attention to. The bigger thing for me in Daniel Jones's play really since those first 2 games, the Buccaneers and Washington, The biggest issue is when under pressure, he's struggling right now. He's not seeing things, the ball's not coming out, and it's leading to turnovers. He's actually getting sacked more than he's getting completions under pressure. But the fumbles, those are something that you can control as a player.
Graziano, has any of the Giants' optimism/confidence in him wavered at all through what's been an up and down stretch?
They're concerned about the turnovers. They need to get it fixed. But no, they've seen enough good stuff. And when they put him in, they knew it was going to be up and down. It's a rookie quarterback. No matter how high you're picked, you're a rookie quarterback. There's going to be highs and lows. So they've committed to this rebuilding process. They're at bottom right now. No team in the league has lost more games than the Giants have the last 3 seasons. So they know who they are, and they're starting from this place. And if he's going to make mistakes and learn on the fly, it's going to look ugly, but they're going to be okay with that.
But the point is, too, with the highs and the lows, eventually, because right now the lows outweigh the highs for him, you got to see a turn that the highs outweigh or overcarry the lows.
Well, let's talk about a guy who was last year's rookie sensation, who is now hitting some lows. And that somebody is Baker Mayfield. His disappointing sophomore Denver. The Browns are 2-6, and Mayfield is tied with Jameis Winston for the NFL lead with interceptions, with 12. He's been worse in every meaningful quarterback statistic across the board this year. His total QBR is down, completion percentage is down, touchdown to interception ratio significantly down. Here's his coach, Freddie Kitchens, addressing the media yesterday.
These first 8 games do not matter. It's not where we want to be, but it's where we are, and that's who our record is. So we have to own that, but we also have to recognize the fact that we've got a new week this week that we have to prepare, or we're going to be answering and talking about the same things that we were talking about last week. So we need to rectify our problems and get them fixed this week for this Sunday's game and have different results.
And I do feel like we've been talking about most of the same things with Cleveland all year long, which is obviously a problem. But Swagoo, you weren't here yesterday. So if the Brown season did officially get away from them last weekend, which it probably did, if you were to point the finger of blame at one person primarily, who is it?
Freddie Kitchens. Look, we can have a discussion about Baker and how he's playing, and obviously he's contributed in some of these problems. But Freddie Kitchens is putting an undisciplined football team out there, a team that he's not compensating for. When you talk about, like, how many discussions have we had about this offensive line? At what point do you say, damn it, I'm going to protect those guys? Like, we are in the 9th week of the season and we still talking about how they can't protect. Well, do something about it. Give Baker some outs. And then, too, like, you should tell your quarterback, all right, I'm going to the 4th and 4. You should tell your quarterback, look over there. If it's one guy by number 13, throw him the ball. I don't care what the situation is. These are simple things in football that I've been around enough of offense to know that there are decisions that you need to make in order to help your guys. And if Baker is not seeing it, you, Freddie Kitchens, have to say, hey, find a guy out there that can dominate a one-on-one and get him the ball.
Freddie Kitchens didn't hire himself. So at some point you have to say it's systemic with the Browns. Like, how many coaches have to spit the bit? How many quarterbacks do they have to trot out there under center before we look at a front office and say maybe they're the ones to blame here, Dan?
Yeah, this is a massive whiff by John Dorsey. A huge whiff with the head coaching hire of Freddie Kitchens. And listen, I've talked about Freddie a lot on this set, and rightfully so. But John Dorsey was the guy that after last season and the success they had at the end of the year said John Dorsey was going to be the person to take this really talented football team and lead them. Because here's the reality. Let's just be black and white. In the NFL, there's talented teams and non-talented teams. With the non-talented teams, when they're losing, you have to ask, okay, is the coach doing enough to overcome that talent? The Cleveland Browns are not in that group. They are a talented football team. So now the question becomes, why are they losing? Well, they're losing because they're not coached with details. The coach that was put in that position was placed in that spot by John Dorsey. So yeah, it has to start with John Dorsey making that hiring and then trickle down to Freddie Kitchens. But it's not just a Freddie Kitchens thing anymore.
Where does it go from here, Dan Graziano?
Well, it depends on how the rest of the season goes, right? If it gets uglier or stays this ugly, then obviously they have to reassess Freddie Kitchens and figure out if they need to make a change there. Watch the quarterback. If the quarterback continues to look like he's not developing or that he's regressing, that's when the front office will activate in a way that involves the program around him. I go back to last year. I was covering their game in Pittsburgh the day before they fired Hugh Jackson and Todd Haley, and there's a lot going on around that team that day. And one member of their front office said to me, look, if it's bad for the quarterback, we're going to get rid of it. And I think that still pertains because that's where they have the high draft pick and the money.
That's the part that drives me crazy, though. And I know we've set aside some time for this later, but they hired him because he's supposed to be good for the quarterback, Swagoo.
I can't, G.
Right,
I can't.
What?
It's all right.
We could get you through
You
this.
want to talk a little
What can't
college?
you do?
You want to talk?
These people getting paid to do this.
Well.
Like, I just don't understand. Look, there comes a point when you, in a professional setting where you say, you know what, we missed. And we got to make a change. And us having the conversation about John Dorsey. But even with Freddie Kitchens, like, if your quarterback ain't that dude, figure out how to make him that dude enough to at least survive what you do. Right now, it looked like the Cleveland Browns said, hey, man, Bay, good luck.
They still look like they're shocked by what's happened.
Oh, my
And they haven't
goodness.
figured out how to recover from
All right, we have much more on the NFL all morning long, but tonight is a very big night in college football.
Yeah, let's make Marcus Spears happy, shall we? Because we are going to get our first official college football playoff rankings released tonight. We'll see if the committee agrees with the AP poll, which has LSU at number 1. We anticipate that it will be. Tigers have 2 wins against FPI top 15 opponents, as many as the rest of the undefeated FBS teams combined. Bama, number 2 in the poll. Crimson Tides reached the playoff in each of its first 5 seasons, but has only beaten 1 FPI top 25 opponent this season. Number 3 in the poll, Ohio State. Buckeyes have dominated their opponents this season, outscoring teams by an FBS best 323 points, the only team with a 300-point differential. And Clemson rounds out the top 4. Tigers have a 78% chance to win out, the highest chance of any FBS team. They've won 24 straight games, the longest active streak in the country. I'd say 24 of those teams aren't that great. So the other 6 teams in the top 10 are ready to make their best case to the College Football Playoff Committee over the next month, especially should there be any slip up in the top 4, which we've seen just about every single year. Penn State is the lone undefeated team not ranked in the top 4. Florida, the only 2-loss team ranked in the top 10. Where's